TikTok, it's time to rock. It's the Sunday show, guys. It's my pleasure, as always, to be here. Oh, what? What? What's happened?
What have you done?
What's going on? It's the Sunday show.
I'm bedazzled, guys.
He's been breathing the helium balloons, hasn't he? He's got helium.
I think the problem is your computer system, bro. I think because I'm sure I'm sounding 100% like Andrew. So if I'm sounding like helium back where you are, you've either had a long night doing something you shouldn't be and your ears aren't quite right.
You turn that off, honestly.
We'll start again. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew. I'm here. I'm the host that's not talking like helium all the way from New Zealand. Oh, my Lord. Down here we have the Melbourneite.
I've got this, you doing this really weird voice. Are you doing this really weird voice?
Trust me, it's nothing wrong with my voice, brother.
You sound like,
you
sound like you're taking helium and going, I'm going to go out and come back in again. Hold on a minute.
Yeah. Okay, wow. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We do actually have an introduction scripted, but that's out the window. So I'm caught off guard, guys. So Brad, brother, how are you?
I'm good. And yourself, Andrew? How you been? Had a great show yesterday.
Oh, yeah. You guys caught me. You guys got me a goodie. If you guys haven't seen the 5150 show, go and check it out. Hoss and Brad were on fire.
Yeah, it was really great. I was buzzing. I haven't had a visitor in my house for nearly 2 years, so that was nice to have Hoss over and catch up and hang out. And, so yeah, it was a great show yesterday, and there was a lot of information there. So I'm going to go back and watch it again and soak up everything that was saying about the amp. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of nuggets in there for anyone who's chasing that sort of EVH tone with an old Marshall.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, so, really interesting. Yeah, really interested. Did you get a chance to jam afterwards?
Hoss had to rush off, so we got a few little things done, like photos and things like that. I thought it was imperative we got some photos for the channel and to share on socials. And moving forward, I'll be going over to his house at some point. He's got a little studio there as well.
Yeah.
And we'll be sort of going through tones and all the nitty gritty geeky stuff that us guitar players love.
Yeah, fantastic.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
That's brilliant.
And we've got a couple of special little treats organised too. We can't let the cat out of the bag, but you guys have to subscribe to the channel to see what Wazza and Brad are going to do. Some groundbreaking stuff. I can't wait. And oh gosh, I want to tell everybody, but I can't. So we'll stay.
Don't tell anyone.
But it's good.
I'm really good to that. It's definitely nothing like what we're going to be doing has been done on any other show, and we're really excited. And Waz is going to break new ground for us, and myself and Hoss are going to be part of it. So it's going to be, and everyone in this channel, including you guys, Andrew and Simon, will be part of it too. So can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait. But yeah, like I say, guys, this is the Sunday show. It's always a pleasure to catch up with the Sunday boys, the Rock Professor, Brad. We're here to do part 2 of the Beatles, Let It Be. We're going to rank the tracks on this album. So normally we would do the presenting co-host will do an introduction and a discussion, but we're going to do things a little bit different on this one. We're just going to have a bit of a general talk. Brad's going to talk about something that's really, really important that he wants to share with us, and I can't wait for that. In the meantime, though, the Rock Professor's got a couple of things that he wants to share with us. So this is probably a good opportunity. Rock Professor, what have you got? What have you got?
The first thing is, yesterday was the 50th anniversary of a very famous event commemorated in song. 50 years ago yesterday, the casino in Montreux burnt down, which of course is Smoke on the Water. So yes, 50 years ago yesterday, the casino in Montreux burnt down, precipitating the composition Smoke on the Water.
Wow.
And we've ranked that album.
Yes. We have. See, we're on it. We're modern. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got an anniversary to bring up too. If you're finished there, Simon, I just wanted to, just to acknowledge the fact that it was on the 29th of November, which was a few days ago now. But we lost George Harrison 20 years ago, so it's 20 years since George Harrison passed. So doing these shows is a bit fitting. George is George Harrison is everyone's favorite Beatle. I think secretly, whether they love him or not, is remarkable. And it just feels good to be doing these shows around the same time as that, just to acknowledge George Harrison.
I agree, brother.
20 years, eh? I remember it, actually. I remember it like yesterday. So, yes.
that was McCartney.
Sad day, but anyway, that's history goes 20 years ago.
It was 20 years ago today.
Yeah.
Coin a phrase. Yeah.
Good old George Harrison.
Yeah.
Definitely someone whom, which we've discussed and we will continue to discuss, was the suppressed songwriter in the Beatles. And obviously when he had his freedom, he shined.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's also hard to put things into perspective. I think George Harrison would have been roughly 26 when the Beatles broke up. Just put it into perspective, he was joined the Beatles at 14. Like my son's 13. It just puts things into perspective a bit when you talk about it like that. So they were very young guys. None of them were over the age of 30 when the Beatles broke up. It was like
none of them was 30, was it? No, none of them was 30.
No, John turned 30 after they broke up. So anyway, there you go.
Amazing. You're right, it is. And how I was listening to somebody talk about this, that was it, they went from sort of, I want to hold your hand to Norwegian Wood in 6 months.
Yeah. Their songwriting just kept getting better and better. And obviously George Harrison was like a sponge, but he was obviously, as we discussed in the previous episode that we did about the Get Back documentary. And if you haven't seen it, guys, naughty, you've got to go and watch it. Anyone that's in the chat here, if you haven't seen Get Back, then maybe you should go and watch it, because we're going to get very cranky with you all, because it's history that's been actually held back for 50 years. It's mandatory watch. And if you're a fan of our channel, you need to watch it. It's like mandatory.
Oh, I'm going to agree. And back you up there. In fact, it dispels a lot of myths. It puts a lot of the history, and we spoke about this last week, didn't we, by some of the established, reputable Beatles authors over the years have been pretty well on the mark with their theories and observations on what happened. But to get that documented and as a gift to us, I think is fantastic. I've got to agree with you, Brad. If you're a Beatles fan, of course it's mandatory. If you're a classic rock fan, of course it's mandatory. And if you're a person who just likes good music, it's mandatory. So. Yeah, I look forward to doing more shows with you guys about this as we digest more and more about it.
Yeah, and we were discussing in the green room before we came on here, guys, that what we're going to do at some point, maybe early next year, we might do an encore performance and discuss the Get Back series again, because we watched 6 hours of footage in 3 days. So
Eight, Brad. 8.5.
Oh, 8.
Oh,
Wow.
8.5 hours. Yeah,
I thought it was 6. Well, there you go.
No, 8.5.
That's how much footage there was. I tried to absorb it all. So I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot more to talk about once we've had a chance to absorb it all. So,
Yeah. Just to say, George and Paul were 27 when the Beatles broke up, and John and Ringo were 29.
Yeah.
So amazing, so you go back a year when they were making this, and it's like, as you say, George and Paul be 26. And yet interestingly, they could almost, Paul particularly with the beard could almost look about 40 in the Let It Be film, couldn't he? You forget how young they are because they went through so much, and so much in a way that I don't think anybody previously, maybe Presley and stuff, but that kind of worldwide phenomenon thing was just incredible, really. So,
I've got a theory.
Go on.
I've got a theory why a lot of these guys, these bands, the Beatles and the Stones, come across a little bit more mature than what we probably would give someone today credit for. These guys were born immediately or during World War II, Simon and Brad, it was a tougher time, tougher stock. Expectations were pretty much clearer. The entertainment industry certainly was a way out of some other job that they could have got into, and clearly they had the ability early on to do that. But it's just the character, I think, of that collective effort of what was happening then. I don't want to sit here and bash Zoomers, but jeepers, Zoomers today compared to George and Paul and John when they're 14, 15 and 16, they were pretty tough guys back then.
Yeah, in a different way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That post-war period was, but it was also, they were also alive at the right time, weren't they? That post-war period when that explosion, when basically the world went from black and white into color, in the 60s, certainly in the UK. I think in America it's probably a bit earlier than that, but and you had to be there and be part of the zeitgeist, to be part of the, that flowering of that cultural revolution. Just, to be a leading light in it must have been incredible. And I think hard to imagine even now. I think that the sort of which is why I will continue to, even after that 8.5 hours, the Beatles are underrated. Just how brilliant they are. And when you go back and do ranking the tracks like we're about to do on, Let It Be, I think, maybe considered a bit of a lesser album than, than say Sgt. Pepper's or something like that. Well, we'll see. But, as far as I'm concerned, it's hardly a duff in the Beatles canon, hardly a duff track anywhere. Really not. And the astonishing creativity over that. 63 to 70, 64 to 70, 6-year period. Those albums they did and that amount of growth they did is just unfathomable, really, in the way they did it. And I think that Let It Be was just a little window into some of that, that creative process and things. And it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I think Let It Be is one of the albums now that potentially, after listening to it, after watching Get Back, I've got a newfound respect for.
That's what I mean.
Much every song, and it's actually brought it's brought the album to life a bit for me now, because I've seen the fly on the wall footage. I've seen the stuff that is history in the making, so it makes it a little bit more of an important album than I think it was for 40, 50 years. So
completely, yeah.
Awesome. So guys, Simon, you've got a couple of shout outs to do, and I think it's probably a good time for you to acknowledge all the cats and kittens in the chat. What do you reckon? They're all talking away there. They might think that we're snubbing them.
I just say good morning to them in the chat, so hopefully they're not snubbing them. But let's say good morning to them, and And we'll so the first thing we'll do before we take a minute is shout out to Warren, our mate Warren. Hope you're good, Warren. We haven't seen you for a while. We hope you're all right, pulling through, man. Keep strong. We're thinking of you and hoping you'll be back, larking about in the chat soon. It'll be really cool to see you. But
the beer dispensers are waiting for you, mate. So
set up.
Oh, well, speaking of beer dispensers, you know, Brad's going to be one at the quarterback gig.
I thought that was when he said he was going to go to Simon's to check out his kit. I thought he was going over to check out how heavy it was to see how difficult it was for me to lift it all in.
Yeah,
have you seen his guns?
I've got to see if I can fit all the stuff in my car. Apparently, that's
or get a van. I mean, God, how many did he tell you? Wet, dry, wet. That's about 10 amps, isn't it? And a 16 speaker. Bloody hell! It's a wall of Marshalls.
I tell you, he puts on my gear to shame. He makes me feel inadequate.
Make us all feel inadequate with that. Is it? Yeah. Lots of 4x12s and stuff. They're heavy. Get up the gym, Brad. Come on, you need to get the old weights. You know, it's more of this, isn't it? Bench pressing 220 kind of thing, you know.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what we want to increase our. That's what we want to increase our subscribers. Brad in the gym.
I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should say this. I might get into trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't care. When we were in the green room, on the show last night, Hoss went into another room in Brad's house and to try and get the sound situation a little bit better. Anyway, where he was sitting, there was some photos on the wall, some family photos, and Wazza, who was in the stream with us, and he said, "Oh no, you don't want to be sitting there because you don't want Brad's family photos. What you want to do is you want to go to the wall that's got all the photos of Brad in his mankini." There's a wall there somewhere.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a whole different channel.
Yes.
But I'm just letting everyone, obviously we have a bit of fun in the green, but that's what guys do, and it was fantastic. Sorry, bro. I had to tell.
So I'm
oiled up.
I'm kind of a bit red in the face. I'm blushing a bit, but let's move on.
See how mean we are to you. Stop that now. Right, yes. Pay attention.
It's all right. I can take it, but I can give as good as I get. Don't worry.
Yeah, quite right. Yes. Oh dear. So anyway, I'll say good morning so we've got Nelson Rodriguez, good morning, and Helen and Teresa. Hope you're feeling better, Teresa, from your car accident. Yes, looks like you are, which is good. From the chat, John ZD351. Hi, John. How you doing? Hope you're good. Thanks for joining. And no worries if we'll be talking about you behind your back when you're not watching. Got Helena as well. Helena O'Hara. Morning, Helena. How are you? We've got Magnus. Very good. Nelson. Hugh Caldwell. Morning, Hugh. How you doing? Mark Tanner, of course. Mark Tanner, and the great Vanzini did a fantastic collaboration on the. Did you see that? Leonard Cohen's
Yes.
Brilliant. 1,000 Kisses Deep. If you haven't seen that, Mark Tanner's channel, check it out. 1,000 Kisses Deep. Really good. Really good.
I'll put his channel on our community page on this channel here too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll do that while we're talking. So you guys carry on.
Yeah, together with the great Vanzini, who does great stuff on his channel as well. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's really good version of it. It's lovely. I really enjoyed that. That's fantastic. Hobo Roadie, morning, Hobo Roadie. So hopefully hopefully I got everybody. I didn't miss anybody. Helen Winter. No, I missed Helen. Good morning, Helen. So morning, everyone. Hope we're all good out there in the crazy world, staying safe, and looking forward to the next hour and a half.
Awesome. Before we shoot into the show proper, ladies and gentlemen, we get obviously opportunities for co-hosts to talk about something that's a little bit interesting, and it's an opportunity that we want to make sure that every co-host gets if they want to stick their hand up and do it. So Brad's going to share with us something that's...
Oh, Mr. Hosford's in the chat. Hoss, how you doing? Great show last night. Really good. Well done. Hey, fantastic stuff.
So, bro, please, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I mean, look, you know, from watching the series Get Back on Disney Plus, I think it's just like an absolutely fascinating insight to the genius that was for musicians in a studio during the songwriting process of these iconic songs. The band's actually getting along. John and Paul have a mutual respect for each other. They work on improving the songs together. As a songwriter myself, I walked away from watching the series just blown away at the chemistry, and honestly, it inspired me, even to the thought of doing collaborations with people and stuff like that, because sometimes that little chemistry thing that happens it's not forced, it just happens, and there's one part where Paul's writing Get Back, for example, and he's strumming the bass and he's humming the melody at the same time at the start. And, then they work on these parts over and over and over again. They're rewriting parts, they're rewriting lyrics, harmonies. And then like within a 3-week time, it becomes a song that we know today. It's absolutely amazing to see and experience. It's, I've never known anything like this before. When they're at Twickenham and there's a lot of new ideas evolving, Paul starts working on Let It Be. And, from the very initial chords coming together, all the way through to the song being completed, and he starts working on The Long and Winding Road. You can hear the chords and without lyrics even, and he's making things up as he's going along. And that process of where they just hum melody lines and then write words to suit that. For anyone who doesn't know, when you write songs, a lot of the time the music comes first and the melody sort of just is there. And then the topics that you're writing about, it might not even have it starts off with a relevant topic, but it might not even have relevance to what you're initially writing about, because you're just trying to find words that suit the melody. And it's just amazing to watch these geniuses, in my opinion, doing this. And we've been giving an insight here to the world of the Beatles and how they wrote music. We see Paul McCartney shine in this. You see John Lennon shine. And even down to the fact where you see George Harrison, at one point in episode 3, spoiler alert, he says, hey, John, I'm thinking of writing my own album because I've got enough songs and quota for the next 10 years of Beatles albums, and I've got more, I feel like I've got to get these songs out. I was thinking of giving them away to people, but now I'm going to do them on my own. So that to me is, I felt kind of a little bit sorry for Harrison in that point, because he's suppressed by genius for 10 years of his career, like the genius of Lennon and McCartney. They were just always working together, and that people were saying in this time frame that they weren't really getting along. But mate, this movie puts that myth, it just dispels that to me. You can see them working along, being so cohesive, and they work. That's like a job for them. They come in, it's like 10 o'clock start, 6 p.m. finish. They're there to get the job done, and they're very respectful of each other's ideas. This is something that, if you've ever been in a band that writes songs, it doesn't always happen this way. Like, there'll always be one person that overpowers everyone else. So I think this is an amazing insight to the genius of the Beatles. All these ideas that the band were coming up with overnight. They'd spend all day rehearsing, and then they go home and they're coming up with new ideas and coming in the studio the next day and working on them from the initial stages. Like, we're flies on the wall to this, and they're going over these song ideas over and over and over again. And they must have honestly played I've Got a Feeling and Get Back over 50 times in the documentary. they kept refining the harmonies, the rhythm parts, what they should do here and there, you know, and how to fix it. And once Billy Preston came in and joined them in the studio halfway through, the vibe really changes. You see them lift, you can see them sit up, and they're honestly raising the bar again. That chemistry thing that I spoke about, that's what it is. When you see Billy Preston come into the studio, automatically that there's a chemistry there. Any holes that needed filling, Billy Preston filled them, and he brought the songs to the next level. It's electric. I mean, I got goosebumps. I got all emotional when that part of the documentary starts. Billy added so much. He added, in my opinion, he was like the integral part for this record to get done. There's snippets of Ringo writing Octopus's Garden in there, which ended up on Abbey Road. George Harrison helping him on the acoustic, you know, coming up with moving chords to help him get to lead the song through to the next phase. It's just brilliant. A really amazing insight there. We're hearing songs that ended up on Abbey Road through this writing process as well, like Maxwell's Silver Hammer. We're hearing something in the way. All Things Must Pass, which ends up on George's solo record. And there's a chord progression there that ends up Jealous Guy, which was John Lennon's last record. So, you know, all these guys were under the age of 30, like we alluded to. I mean, George was 26 when they broke up. It's an amazing insight to a working band that knew what they had to do when they were in the studio, even though they had an abundance of fun. They really got the job done. And this, and I'll leave it at this, they were working hard, but they were having fun. And this documentary dismisses any myths that they were not getting along, in my opinion. And I can't believe it's taken this long for all this footage to surface. And I feel sorry for the people that have been Beatles fans and passed away and not had this opportunity to. I feel like we're part of this history now. So that's where I'm going to leave it. And I want to get into the track rankings. But thanks, Andrew and Simon, for letting me talk about that, because I think some of the points I brought up were very important.
No, that's right. I'd say one thing about it as well, Brad. That the amazing bit to me is that that relationship between McCartney, that creative relationship between Lennon and McCartney, that equality that means you can go, don't do that, do that. You know, as without offending anybody, without, you know, that kind of, you know, just where you get into that, you know, working together, kind of like, yeah, just do that, you know, put these, you know, and it's not a criticism thing, you know, it's just honing in and bringing what you bring, you know, because clearly Lennon brings a different thing to McCartney, and how those two things mesh together to make songs better. You know,
it's just like constructive criticism, like when we discuss our channel. We're not taking it personally when someone says you should do this differently, this and that, blah blah blah. So, you know, and also, you know, what I forgot to mention here, which is in my notes, they were so diverse in their ability as musicians. We got to see them all playing piano. We got to see them all playing piano. They'd all jump on different instruments to write a song. Instantly, George would get on a piano and start singing. So someone else would pick up, you know, a guitar, and you know, John would play bass in songs. So it was just a real, like, I can't stress it enough. If you're part of this channel, you have to watch this. Don't download Disney Plus. You have to see this. It's integral. It's important.
Yeah. Do you know that? Go on, Andrew. Sorry, go on.
I just wanted to thank Brad for his presentation. It was fantastic. I think it was brilliant, and it's amazing. I'm lost for words. Thank you, bro. Thank you for that. It's important, I think, for people to realize that we're just three guys hanging out with a few people here, 20 people in the chat, and we're just talking about music, aren't we, guys? It's just it's just amazing, and I'm going to keep repeating myself. It's just a big part of our lives, and it's one of the great things about it, you know. And I'm just looking at some of the comments here, and you know, your presentations just Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more I could talk about, but you know, I'm going to talk about a few things in the presentation of the songs, like the rankings. But
yeah,
that were my observations of, you know, just that racing through it all, and you know, I'm massively inspired to write music again from Get Back, the documentary.
And that's really important, isn't it? If you're inspired by it, then that's fantastic, you know, and kind of, you know. One thing I picked up, that thing about they all play the piano, and that being a very kind of British working class thing. Every house, lower middle class, every house had a piano, you know, because clearly not much in the way of television, so you have to make your own entertainment. But also it's a kind of thing of self-improvement. The piano, learning the piano is a thing of self-improvement, you know, for the lower middle classes, which is so. To me, that was really interesting to see that as a kind of bit of a sort of cultural thing in a way, that they could all play the piano.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it inspired me to go and buy a $500 Casio keyboard last week. You know,
so you're going to turn up with a Steinway then?
Oh no. Well, because they're cheap as chips. But I'm going to just a bit of a segue before we get into the track. And I've never played piano in my life, but I know some chords. You know, there's plenty of YouTube stuff out there to show you where the chords are. But because we're guitar players, we can understand. We know where the chords are, so we know how it works. You know, the first chord, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord, and then you can play your bass chords over here. It's just amazing. Go and get a keyboard, guys. Go and get a cheap keyboard, especially if you're a guitar player, and you'll be surprised how quick you can understand it. It's actually a lot easier than playing a guitar.
I've got a piano. I've got an upright piano in the next door. Yeah, proper one. Nice one too. Buchner.
I'm just fascinated by it. So the fact that Brad is inspired to go and write more songs because of this, I'm inspired to at least, you know, play some 12-bar blues on a keyboard. I can even do the intro to Jump. I learnt the intro to Jump. That's pretty easy. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the show. We've got some cats in the chat. We've got Tim Thomas in here saying hello. If anyone else has jumped in. Yeah. Keith. Oh, good to see you, Keith. I just want to say a little shout out to Keith. Keith put a post on his Facebook page, and he just went through a bit of a tragedy, you know, recently, and I wasn't aware of that. So,
Keith,
good to have you with us, brother, and hanging out with us. Good to have you.
Yeah, 100%.
What else are we talking about? Oh yeah, let it be. Okay, guys. So
let's get into the track rankings.
Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I just finished my ranking of my tracks, guys, about an hour before we did the track, started the show. And I'm going to be honest and upfront with you. This is one of the most difficult rankings of songs I've done ever. It's the hardest album I've had to rank out of all the albums I've had the pleasure of hanging out with you guys doing. And I'll tell you why, because I think Beatles fans are going to have this thing. You know, we used to, in history, have this thing called BC, you know, AD and BC. You know, I think Beatles fans are going to have before PJ and after PJ, you know, Peter Jackson, you know, up to the Peter Jackson film and then after the Peter Jackson film, because my mind kept on thinking about these songs for 30 years, if that makes any sense, guys. And then I'm giddy and got this big huge grin on my face for the last week and a half, and I'm listening to these songs again, and I'm trying to find that middle ground. Does that make sense? I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. So I think I've come up with my honest rankings, and Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. So I won't make any alerts, but just bear with me, guys. Bear with me as we go through the tracks, because I'd love to hear what you guys think. And of course, anybody else, if you guys have listened to the 21 remix, and if you have had an opportunity to go through and listen to Glyn Johns's remix as opposed to the classic album remix, there's some big differences. And then the naked version, which came out a few years ago, which is the album that I'd been listening to when it came out, because I just thought that was just fantastic. And then we've gone through and ranked the 2021 version. So again, that's kind of confused me kind of too, guys. So bear with me.
Yeah.
And just remember, guys, we're just fans, and if anyone's watching the show and we get a few things wrong because we've mixed up facts from different mixes or whatever, give us a break. Okay. Okay, so Let It Be. It was dropped, obviously, guys, in May 1970. It was the last album, but not the last album they recorded. If you guys haven't seen the Abbey Road rankings that we've done, it's on the channel. One of the highlights that we've done on the channel. So the first track is Two of Us. So, guys, I've got here, it's a bromance song. It's a bromance between Paul and John, clearly for me. They're smiling at each other. And then you've got some, acoustic work backing the song up. It's got that folksy tone, which I think gives it something a little bit bouncy to go with. You got that nice whistling from Lennon, to the fade out. In the film version, though, I had to go back and look at the film version. The film version's a lot heavier than the version that came out on the album. So that's one of the first confusing little things that you have, because the film version, I think, is probably just a little bit better. And you've got George playing bass, and he's using his guitar on this. So that's an interesting little... Yeah, it's an interesting little thing that I found and went back and listened to, and you can hear it. It just doesn't give the depth that a bass does. The great thing about the song, though, guys, the great thing about it is it was recorded live in the studio, and I think because of that and the bromance, the big smiles between John and Paul as they came together. We saw that in the 3 episodes. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Not a great opening track for a Beatles album. Adequate.
He just used the word adequate and Lennon McCartney in the same sentence.
Brad.
Look, I'm sort of where you are in the way that you explained that for a long time you've looked upon these songs in a certain way, and then obviously after watching Get Back and then revisiting this album, it's put a whole new spin on the record for me. In saying that, I've tried to rank the tracks in accordance with the record, not just because I'm still obviously gloating about the watching, Get Back. It's hard to differentiate that, because to me now, that's put a whole new spin. I love listening to this record because I've fallen in love with it again because of that Get Back thing. So for me, the Two of Us, like, it's an opening track that's got that classic intro. I love the song. It's got an amazing crispness to the mix on the 2021 version. The vocals sound incredible. I love how they sing together, and I always love when Paul and John sing together. There's just something quite magical about their voices complement each other. The acoustics sound great. There's some fantastic melodies, catchy singing vibes. It's a sing-along song, and for me, I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's never a skip. I have to admit, it was never a 9 out of 10 to me before. It was probably more of a 7 or an 8, but I can't give it a 10 because of other rankings, but it's it's got a new spin on it now after watching all that fly on the wall footage. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip, Simon.
Agreed. I haven't listened to this album for a long time. I can't remember listening to it for a long while. So it came with it quite fresh. And the same thing struck me as struck you, that the acoustics are beautifully recorded. I mean, Glyn Johns, I mean, they are fantastically well recorded. They sound brilliant. And I'm things that sound brilliant. It's a comparatively simple song. I think my understanding of is that some of it's about McCartney and Linda taking aimless drives around the English countryside to get away from the stresses of doing the Let It Be album. But just as a kind of thing, I think that there's lots of things. The Lennon intro where he says, "I Dig a Pygmy," starring Charles Hawtrey and the Deaf Aids. And see, that's quite a sort of surreal thing. It plugs into that kind of surreal goon show type humour that Lennon particularly was into, and it's thing of the time, which is but I think the other thing, Brad, is that singing. It's that Everly Brothers singing. I mean, man, those voices mesh, don't they? And I've read somewhere that that whatever you think about things like if you think about a Ringo song being a bit light, look who you've got backing you up. You've got those two. The way they sing together is just unlike anybody else. I know it takes his that we're singing that Fifth Above is an Everly Brothers thing, but they sound so brilliant. And I think that the other thing that struck me was how, because it's close, it's intimate, isn't it? It's an intimate sound on that first song. They're up close and kind of personal. I think that adds a lot to it in terms of its sort of vibe and feel. I too gave it a 9 out of 10. I just thought that McCartney's got away with a tune, hasn't he? Away with a melody in a way that few other people have. Sort of two chords, and yet that's just that melody and the singing. I think takes it to another level, which is why it's a 9 for me and not an 8. I think I'm biased for the Beatles, but
yeah, I think we're all biased to the Beatles, especially after watching Get Back. But you brought a very important point to the table there, and simplicity was the key for the Beatles, but they did it so brilliantly, and they always played for the song. So they kept a simple melody, kept a simple chord structure, and just went with it. So that's the beautiful thing about the Beatles for me.
And that is one of the things about this album, isn't it? A kind of return to the simplicity of some of their earlier stuff, playing all together in a room and all of that as a thing. But yeah, simple is really difficult.
But I'll mention one thing, guys, and from a songwriter's perspective, writing simple songs is not easy. No. It's actually because they can sound terrible, but the Beatles actually had a knack of doing it really well. Andrew.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, Dig a Pony, guys. Okay, so we've got a nice remote harmony start to the song, which is unusual for the Beatles. And I'm going in my mind when I'm listening to this song for years, is it Dylan or is it Hendrix? What's going on there? The Beatles have been influenced clearly by, I think, these guys, and I'm going to stay by that thought. And, we know that Lennon obviously has a flirtation with Dylan over the period of the Beatles, his time during the Beatles. So, I'm getting that vibe on this song. You've got a nice casino crunch going there with his guitar playing through those Fender amps. I love it. According to the information that I read, guys, the group only did this song once before the rooftop gig. Now, they rehearsed it a couple of times. They played around with it, but, they only rehearsed it once, but they played it a few times. So if that's true, if they only rehearsed the song once and went and did the rooftop gig with this, it's remarkable. And that's in the back of my mind now. I'm just thinking, holy cow. One other little bit of information, guys, and I was doing some research and we were talking about this last week. So, we noticed that Ringo had, when he was in Twickenham, a tea towel over the snare drum. And he had the tea towel when he was in the studio at Apple, and he had the tea towel on the rooftop concert. So apparently the tea towel, which you drape over the snare drum, is an old studio trick. It's used to dampen the snare, and it gives you a combination of, it acts like a compressor. So it gives, you know, a tighter sound to the snare, which I think is really, really interesting. So Ringo knew instinctively what he wanted to do, and that ability for him as a drummer, for me, there's a few songs, but we're starting to get this on this song. You know, we're starting to get one of the reasons why Ringo's star is remarkable. It's the first song that's in 3/4 time, so it's, you know, got a bit of a gallop going to it.
Yeah,
guys.
Yep.
I love this song. I love it. I always have. I know that it gets a bit of a hard bash from some people, some of the established journalists over the years, but I'm going to give the song a 10 out of 10, and probably should have been the opening track, in my opinion. Brad.
Oh, look, I love this song. I love that opening riff, the way they play it. The vibe of the song is amazing to me. I love Lennon's vocals. Always have been a massive Lennon fan. When he sings like the way he does in the verses, it's just eerie. Very catchy melody and chorus in this song. George's lead guitar work throughout the song is great. The BVs throughout the song are, you know, it's just remarkable how they manage to just pick the right thing all the time. And Paul would come in singing the right thing, and they just, you can always see them, especially on a rooftop gig. They're watching each other, where to come in, where to pull out. It's sort of like a little bit of winging it as you go, but they're so good at that, which was amazing. The drumming is great. It's fantastic. Ringo's got a real swing. I just love it. And, you know, the highlight for me as well, I love the guitar solo from George. Very Clapton vibes for me. Like, I can tell he's been obviously buddying up with Clapton there a lot, and you know, that influence is quite heavy on George, as they allude to that early on in the Get Back special. So I'm going to agree with Andrew here, and it's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip. I've always loved the song, but I love it even more now after watching Get Back.
Brilliant.
Simon.
Rock Professor.
Yeah, agree. So just a little snippet. The working title of this song was Connor Lowry, which is, I guess, L.S. Lowry, the northern painter who painted matchstick men and matchstick dogs and cats. But apparently Len changed it because Connor Lowry didn't sing well. He's got to be D's and P's, which Dig a Pony clearly is a thing. But I agree. I think the lyrics are great as well. I think the lyrics are you know, are really interesting. They're pushing it out. Apparently it's about Yoko, but probably, but some bits and pieces. But yeah, really interesting lyrics. You know, you can indicate everything you see. You can indicate anything you see. It's that kind of, you can imitate everyone you know. You can imitate everyone. That's kind of taking a theme and doing it twice, doubling the lines and stuff is really cool. But as you say, they sing so well, you know, and they lift a comparatively, you know, simple song. Yeah, da, 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 da. When you're off into it, they have that way of just creating this kind of fantastic vibe, feel, you know, and beautiful thing. A 9 from me, never a skip, absolutely not. You know, I thought this is great. This song, really good, and I sort of agree with you, Andrew. I know what you mean about possibly it should have been the starter for the album, but
yeah, awesome, guys. Across the universe now, guys. Okay, bear with me. So, one of the great things about ranking these tracks, we go and do a bit of research from some of the good stuff that's out there. so I didn't know a couple of things about the song. So I'm looking forward to obviously sharing them. So apparently this is the first song ever that the Beatles or John Lennon wrote words first. Normally the Beatles, and we saw that, didn't we? We saw that right through the whole thing there, where they don't even have the lyrics, they're just scatting them and they're playing the melody. And I've got images of Brad, not in his mankini though, but Brad, and in my mind,
once seen, never forgotten.
Because he drew it out for us in a couple of other episodes too, about how for him writing the music was the thing, was the vibe, was the muse, you know. So and because obviously Brad is a co-host here and he's a published, you know, artist, so just bringing that back to some kind of connection that I have was really, really interesting. And there's another Brad thing too that I want to talk about in relationship to this song. So, you know, Brad has talked about how he sees music in colors, and that doesn't surprise me because Jimi Hendrix apparently spoke about seeing things in colors. And according to Jeff Emmerich, when they were recording this song, he was on a BBC podcast, and he said that Lennon, when he was writing this song or recording this song, wanted an orange sound to it. So this song is Lennon's version of an orange sound, which again I think is really, really interesting from, you know, the songwriter's perspective that Brad mentioned earlier. And no, we didn't get together and include on these notes, ladies and gentlemen. One other thing too, before I pass on to my other co-host, John was apparently proud of the lyrics in the song. He was very, very proud of them. He saw himself as a poet. We know that he wrote 2 books when he was in the Beatles. He loved words. He was writing words before he became a Beatle. This song goes back apparently to the White Album, so it's one of their oldest songs. I'm going to tell you guys, I've been critical of Spector when we've done some other albums, but I think he's made this version of the song pretty good. I like what Spector has done with this song. He's taken it from just like a normal ditty, which is not a bad thing, into, you know, a great song. And one other thing too, for years I always thought Jaya Guru Deva. I thought it was it's actually which is, you know, the Hindu mystical word. It's the syllable which gives word something to creation. No disrespect if I got that wrong to any practicing Hindus. I'm sorry. I mean that sincerely. But guys, I never liked this song. I never liked it for years. But after watching the album,
Andrew, why didn't you like it for years? I'm fascinated by that.
It just I just thought it was
you by in some way.
It didn't have any reality. It didn't have a grip for me as far as a song. Now, you know, I don't want to reveal too much about who I am here live, but yeah, you know, I'm a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual person. I understand that this is a spiritual song, you know, and it's not surprising, you know, when you consider they were practicing TM and stuff like that, you know. So that was really, really important for the band and for Lennon at that time. But I didn't get that connection. I didn't, you know, and reading about it, it didn't resonate with me. But you know, after watching the film and putting that into context and trying to sort of put it over here without affecting my judging mind, I'm still going to give it an 8 out of 10. But it's never a skip.
Well, that's a really good assessment of the song there, Andrew. So I don't know how to follow that up. I don't know how to follow that up, but I'm going to... Yeah, so for me, Across the Universe, I used to listen to the version that came out on CD, Volume 2 of the Past Masters. I preferred that version of it than the Let It Be version initially. And I used to skip this version of it because I preferred the version that was released on Past Masters. But listening to this one, there's a lot of color in this song. And you alluded to the color thing, which it was something that, you know, it's amazing that you brought that up, because it was something that in my mind I was hearing all those, you know, the color thing. And for me, it's a beautiful version of the song. Lennon's voice is amazing. There's some wonderful drones throughout the song, which are, you know, falls into that meditation and puts you in that meditative sort of state. And the lyrical content obviously alludes to that as well. There's some like really amazing orchestrated piece behind this song. I love the wah guitar parts in this song. It's truly a beautiful song. And, you know, I'm going to keep saying this throughout these track rankings here. Watching Get Back has given me a newfound love for this song. And I'm going to try and rank it in accordance with the record, not because, you know, Get Back, but I gave it a 9 out of 10. And I love songs like this that evoke emotion and really put you in send you on a bit of a journey. So for me, it's a 9 out of 10 and never a skip. Simon.
Yeah, well, there's several things about this for the song. First thing I say, the first lines of the lyric, words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither wide as they slip away across the universe. That's a fantastic couplet, you know. My God, you know, I remember when I first heard that, and that's a thrill divine as far as I'm concerned. You know, just that sort of words. I had always wordsmithing, but that kind of, you know, use of words to conjure up a fantastic image, you know, is just, you know, mind already blown as far as I'm concerned. And for me, you know, to be able to write that is just, you know, and Lennon did, actually, you're right, Lennon did say that, you know, he thought it was one of the few things he'd written that could stand up as poetry, as, you know, would stand on its own without the things. And he said that he was lying in bed next to Cynthia, and he was irritated, and he was thinking she must have been going on and on about something, and she'd gone to sleep, and I kept hearing these words over and over, flowing like an endless stream. I went downstairs, and it turned into a sort of cosmic song rather than irritated song, which I think is a really good point that it does it. So it's so for me, it's just such beautiful song. The other thing about it that brings me out in chills is that it was played at, I have a cousin, I have several cousins, but my cousin Basil, his wife died, Tracy died, aged 59 or something, 58. And this was played at her wedding, and we had to sing the whole thing. So it has a tremendous layer of emotional impact for me on that level as well. So it, you know, for me, I think you're right, Andrew. The you know, the strings are unobtrusive; they come in the background. You know, and the choir is there as well, and there's a wah-wah guitar in a second thing. It's a kind of lush sound, but it is held together by those lyrics and by how brilliant they are, and about, you know, tying those things together into quite a cosmic song. I mean, for me, it's a 100 out of 10. It's a piece of genius from Lennon, and I can't give it a high enough score, frankly, for that. And, you know, and it's one of the great thrills of pop music is a song like this. It just comes out and it's just, you know, the epitome of beauty and, you know, everything you'd want in a song.
Awesome.
Well, awesome, Simon.
Did you get the impression I like it?
Thanks for joining us. and Sonia. Sonia's been lurking in the chat, so good to see Sonia. Thank you, Simon, for sharing that with us. My appreciation of the song has certainly grown. So, back to the rankings, guys. So, I, Me, Mine by Harrison. Harrison's first contribution to the album. I've got the intro is a sweet, delicate guitar sound. I love it. It's fantastic. And it's nice to see in the film, it's written the night before he played it to John and Yoko. So, getting that scene was just absolutely revealing, because most of us are aware of this song. So he's sharing that with his mentor and Yoko. Remember that, guys, so he's sharing a new song with her. So, yeah, the Yoko theory, but that's another show. And apparently it was the last song that they performed before they went into the studio, so into Apple Studio. So what have I got here? I'm trying to read my writing. Guys. Apparently, as typical for John and George and Paul around this time, they're talking about the ego problem. I, me, mine, so obviously they're questioning themselves. I think it's an introspective song from his perspective. I like the fact too that it goes from a 3/4 time into that 4/4 time in the chorus. Love that. Always loved it. Always thought it was cool. Again, when I was doing research, guys, other established commentators thought that it was irritating. Interesting. I'll be interested to see what my co-hosts think about that. But I liked it. I think it fits well. It's smart, and certainly something that gives us a revealing look into George Harrison, not only as a songwriter, but a musician. Brad.
Wow. It's hard to follow you, Andrew. I must have.
Oh, my Lord.
So,
mate, it's okay. I'm not going to sack you.
No, well, I mean, mine, look, as we watched in the film and Andrew alluded to, we're seeing this song be revealed and worked on. And that's put a whole new spin on it for me. And I think George Harrison, he's right up there as my favorite Beatle. I think he was suppressed in the band so much because he was, living in the shadow of, like, obviously when that band started, Lennon and McCartney were the songwriters, but he learned so much. He was like a sponge. So, to this point in his career, he was a full-blown songwriter in his own right. And I love the song. I love the waltz feel to it. It's got, I love the electric keyboards. They sound fantastic. The guitar playing on the song is just, I love it. It's fantastic. There's very catchy melody. George really proves that he was a powerhouse songwriter, and he was suppressed by the huge songwriting abilities of his bandmates. George's voice is so good on this. I love the song. I gave it 10 out of 10, and it's never a skip for me, Simon.
I just want to jump in with, because I can read one of my notes here before the Rock Professor gives his rankings. So what's really interesting about this the film is that George showcased a few other songs that didn't make it on this album or Abbey Road, but went on to the album that he did, All Things Must Pass, which we've reviewed. That incidentally went 6 times platinum. We can't forget that. That album, All Things Must Pass, 6 times.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good point, bro.
Sold a few.
Rock Professor.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add to what you said. That's that clearly that from Harrison's experience with the Maharishi Yogi and his interest in Eastern mysticism comes out very strongly in this song. I completely agree. I like the contrast between the verse and the chorus. You know, they're quite light verses with acoustic guitar, and then the sort of fuzzy chorus rock and roll thing that they do. Fantastic singing. You know, I think electric piano as well. You know, we talked a lot about Billy Preston coming in. I think it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely, you know, fantastic song. You know, fantastic lyric. Again, you know, I'm very much a lyric person. I like lyrics, and clearly there's a lot of things in these lyrics. You know, and a lot of things you can pull out, a lot of things you can get from them. You know, clearly has, you know, some depth and some meaning. You know, it's not just "I want to hold your hand," and I think you know, it shows the development as well. So it's a fantastic song. 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Never a skip.
No, it's never a skip. Dig it, gentlemen. So after years of waiting for, you know, three, 4 times songs, we get 3 in a row from the Beatles. So, you know, they're out to surprise everybody, aren't they? What have I got here? So this is apparently one of the few songs that all the Beatles are credited for writing. I can see why they've put this in the album. I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. I mean, sorry, it's wrong. Sorry. I can see, look, I couldn't see where the song fitted before PJ. After PJ, I can see now how this song fits in the context of this album, and I think also Abbey Road as well, because this album and the work in this film puts Abbey Road into another context, whole context altogether for me. Look, I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. It's never a skip, though. Never a skip. Brad.
Well, before Get Back, the documentary that we keep referring to, I used to skip this.
Don't blame me. I did too.
Yes.
I was just too scared to admit it.
I acknowledged it, but it was one of those songs I would skip just because it just seemed like a bit of a throwaway at times, and I didn't appreciate it, is what I'm saying. But after watching Get Back on Disney Plus, you know, I appreciate it way more. You know, I think they wanted to capture the fun that they were having in the studio and put it on record. Because as you can see clearly when you watch the Get Back documentary, that they're a lot of the time they're having fun. They're actually having probably too much fun. And I may have alluded to this in the last episode that we did. It was frustrating at times for me because I'm like, guys, you've only got like a week left to get your stuff together and you're nowhere near ready. And for me as a musician in the band, I'm like, come on, guys, get it together. But this is the beauty of, you know, this documentary. It shows how much fun they were having. You know, there was certain things like, you know, where they're singing through their teeth and they're mucking around. They do a complete take of singing through their teeth for fun. You know, it was like, so this was a gem. If you watch this Disney Plus episode of Get Back, this is an extended jam, and they obviously cut out a lot of it for this record because it just fades in and then it fades out. And I look, for me, I give it a 7 out of 10 now, but I can almost guarantee you it would not have been a 7 out of 10 before Get Back.
Oh, it would have been a 3 or a 4 for me, without a doubt.
Simon.
It was never that low for me, I think, because clearly for me, I recognise this as the Dylan thing in it, which is always you know, always add on a few points for that, you know, because they start doing like a Rolling Stone, don't they? As it was clearly Dylan stuff, and then they do that the list like the FBI, like the CIA, like Doris Day, like Matt Busby. Of course, we all know who Matt Busby is, don't we? Any ideas? Andrew will know. Do you know who Matt Busby is, Brad?
No, sorry, I don't.
No, it's fine. It's a particularly English reference that the others are not particularly. Matt Busby was the manager of Manchester United.
Oh, okay.
In the late 50s and the 60s. He was the manager when they had the famous Munich air crash where half the team got killed and stuff, and he rebuilt the team and they won the European Cup 10 years later, 67. So with George Best and those guys. So, but it's quite interesting to just put him in. It's like, who's he? You know, because clearly people have heard of BB King and Doris Day and stuff, and to put him in at the end, it's very English or Scottish. Actually, he's Scottish, Matt Busby, but particular reference. But so I think a 7 out of 10 for me. It's a fragment, but never a skip. I really like it. I enjoy it. You know. It's got enough for tune, and I think you're right. It shows their humour. It shows, you know, that kind of surreal thing that what they're about, where they are, and stuff. And yes, just a jolly little insert into the proceedings, which I think is really good. I would never skip it. It's only 50 seconds. It'd take me more than that to do it.
Yeah.
On a record, you got to get up, lift the arm, move it across, put it down. That's 50 seconds. Might as well leave it.
The next track, guys, is Let It Be. So always knew that the song early on was about Paul's mum, which always had a special place in my heart, because, you know, when I was a young boy, my mum was everything, you know, until she passed away a couple of years ago. You know, so any song by any man about his mum, in my opinion, is a great thing. I loved it from that perspective. Some people always said that it was a remake of Hey Jude. I remember hearing that and reading that, thinking, my gosh, these people are so silly. They don't know anything about the Beatles or anything about music to make that kind of lazy comparison. I like that simple piano chords in the beginning. Always have. It's just fantastic. It's one of the great things that Paul McCartney has as a songwriter to give us, and one of the scary things, I think, too, because you know, you're revealing yourself. But Paul's done this before. He did it with Yesterday. You know, he's got form. He doesn't mind, you know, just being this guy out there and giving it from a performer's perspective alone. And I kind of get that when I hear this song. There's a couple of other songs, obviously, that probably reflect that kind of attitude for me too, as we dig a little bit further along. That first verse vocal is single tracked. It's not double tracked, and it's deeply sincere. It's believable, and that's one of the great things about music, guys, that we love. If you can hear something and believe it, it's done its job. I always loved this song. It was always a song on the radio when I was growing up. I love the different versions, hearing Glenn John's remake or remaster or mix, sorry. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10, and it's never a skip. One of the great Beatles songs. Brad.
Wow. Yeah. Well, for me, Let It Be is it's quite it's always been a big McCartney song for me. You know, probably one of his most important songs as a songwriter. We watched this song being constructed from the ground up in the Get Back documentary, which makes it even more special now to me. You know, I've fallen in love with the song again. You know, there was a long time there where I'd overheard it. It was played on the radio all the time. I listened to it a lot. Sometimes I'd go through those things. I listen to things too much. I need a break from it. And I would sort of only skip it because I heard it too often, not because I didn't like it. But I've fallen in love with the song again. Beautiful piano playing from Paul. Obviously, there's a few versions floating around as well, which I think I like this version the best. The band, you know, they all take pride to play exactly what's needed in this song, and respectfully doing less to make the song shine, because there's potential that they could have overplayed in this song, including Ringo. His drumming is sensational in this song. I agree with you.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That second verse, when he
Yeah.
comes in and he hits those hi-hats on that second verse, it's just, wow, where did that come from?
And then if you listen to the song as it progresses, his beat changes, but the tempo stays the same. So, you know, it goes dubba dubba dum dubba dubba dubba. Like there was something to Ringo's playing, and I'll give him props, you know, till the day I die, that he was always playing for the song, never tried to outdo anyone else. He was respectful for the song idea and just played for the song. And that's the mark of a exceptional musician to me. Play what's needed for the song. That's it. The bass and the guitars are perfect. You know, it's got John Lennon on the 6-string bass. The orchestration in the song is fantastic. The electric piano, really beautiful touch. George's guitar solo is so emotive, perfect for the song. It's beautiful. The way the song lifts and closes, it's a perfect example of the chemistry the band had. And it's even more special because we actually heard in the documentary it getting constructed from the ground up, Paul writing the lyrics, like presenting it as even just chordal arrangement from the very start. And this is one of the songs in that whole documentary that's a highlight for me, because we do see it from the ground up. So 10 out of 10 for me. It's definitely never a skip now.
Oh, look, I agree with you. Yeah, you know, and that transition from the guitar solo to the orchestra is just fantastic. And then you've got Billy Preston playing the electric keyboard, and it's just so amazing for me. It's almost church-like. You can see doves rising and just landing in the rafters. It's just I've heard the song differently over the last couple of days. So yeah, I got to agree with you, bro. I think it's phenomenal. Rock Professor.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The first thing I'd say is that McCartney said he had the idea for Let It Be after he had a dream about his mother during the tense period surrounding the sessions for the Beatles, the White Album, in '68. And she came to him in a dream and said, "It'll be all right. Just let it be," which is fantastic kind of, way of starting it. Just picking up, Brad, on what you said, I think that Lennon did play 6-string bass on it, but it was replaced by McCartney's at the last. George Martin insisted that McCartney go and play over the slightly wayward bass playing from Mr. Lennon. I think we'll get onto that later. But so I think there's just a couple of things in there. For me, it is one of the classic Beatles songs, isn't it? I mean, he's an absolute, right up there, top 5 Beatles songs, whatever you want to do. I think that echo hi-hat in the second verse that you talked about, where they actually put that effect, Spector put that effect on to make it, just gives it. They're all the thing about these things. McCartney has he can be a bit kind of, can be a bit cloying if you're not careful. You've got to have some grit in the oyster, to make the pearl. And I think things like that echo hi-hat things are the things that give it just that bit of grit, that just take it above, out of the sort of sentimental and into a proper kind of heartfelt, fantastic song. I love it, that, and you're right that the Billy Preston da 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 is just that's one of the great hooks, isn't it, in this song? When he plays that, and it's just deep thing. I think the guitar solo, 2 guitars. I think I heard 2 guitars in it. Fantastic, beautiful melodic guitar solo from Harrison. I think the perfect solo for a fantastic song. And I know he's not the world's great improviser, but he does that. He builds it, and it soars beautifully at the end. And it's you gotta understand it to be able to produce that, and to out of the hat, your creative hat, and to do it. So, I mean, 100 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. One of the greatest Beatles songs. I have lived with it for 50 years. It's it's part of the fabric, really, as far as I'm concerned. So just brilliant.
Awesome. That's
good.
Got got a couple of comments in the chat. People are commenting on my dog, Pepper. Thank you for the kind comments. I will pass those comments on to Pepper when the show finishes.
I just thought, I was just thinking, why is everyone talking about dogs? Are we boring or something? We're not, like,
No, we're the meeting ground. We're the meeting ground, bro. We're the meeting ground. We're
we're talking
fine.
about Beatles music, and everyone's talking about dogs in the chat. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Christine Taylor's got a dog called Zapper. Hats off to you, Christine. Well done.
You got to remember, bro. Most of them, and I mean this respectfully, are women, and they can multitask, bro. All right, so you got to remember that.
Yeah.
We want your rankings and songs, guys. We want you guys to give us rankings, not your dog colours and bloody twats, bloody mongrels.
Hey, all right, back to work.
Hope Pepper didn't hear that. Blimey, she'd be in.
Yeah, Pepper. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, Maggie May, traditional song. It's a throwaway song, isn't it? It's an English British thing. It's a Liverpool thing. It's a shanty. It's a great thing. It's definitely something that the Beatles wanted to put in there. It was always a skip, and it could possibly be a skip for me today. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, it definitely was a throwaway song. Obviously, just a little sing-along vibe. They were obviously just probably touching on it in the studio. Again, was something I always skipped in the past. I never really gave it a chance. Potentially still a skip, but obviously a bit of a newfound respect because I know what they were doing in the studio at that time now because of this footage that we've all been privileged to. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10, and I won't skip it anymore. But it's a 40-second throwaway thing. I think they maybe threw it on just to show that they were having a little bit of fun during this session, maybe more so than an actual important part of the record, if that makes sense. Simon,
I'm listening to you, bro. I'm listening to you.
Yeah, and she's come to admonish you now, Brad. You're going to be told off by Pepper. Oh dear. Yeah, it's a throw thing. I think that they put it on again. It's the fun element, but also, and one of the things that interests me about the Let It Be film is how many songs did they know? I mean, they literally hundreds. I mean, just of all types, you know. And to me, this is an example of, you know, this is the songs that we know. It's typical, traditional Liverpool, specifically folk song. I think, interestingly, Lennon, you'll notice, sings it in a very Scouse accent. Liverpool, he actually says it in a very Scouse accent. And, you know, it's a 6 out of 10, but it's never a skip. You know, as I say, in my day, you know, 40 seconds is you'd have to get up, lift the lid of the record player, lift the thing up, move it. Well, not to the next track, but to side 2. That's more than 40 seconds. You might as well let it roll. So I don't skip it, but it's a slight fun piece, and I think, as I say, I think they put those things on just to show their sort of the depth of what they could do, really, and show a bit of that kind of surreal fun stuff where they've come from. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Andrew.
Thank you, Rock Professor. Sorry, I was just listening to what you were saying.
He was thinking, which is fine.
I Got a Feeling is the next song.
Side 2.
Apparently, guys, the first genuine collaboration that Paul and John did since Baby, You're a Rich Man. Baby, You're a Rich Man too. So that's really nice, and I like that. I get smiles, and I grin.
No, you
from
didn't
ear
pass
to
the
ear.
audition.
Hold on. When I hear this song, I get smiles. I've always loved the song. And it was a song that the Beatles liked too, didn't they? Because they played this through. How many times did we see them play this song through?
100.
Oh, yeah. Clearly, they. Yeah, okay, 100. I'm not gonna contradict Brad. They played it. It's almost daily at Twickers.
Twickers.
But then we've got Billy Preston on that Hohner electric piano, you know, and then you've got, you know, it's playing in the same range as Lennon's guitar on that left channel. I love the song, guys. I just think it's remarkable to see it being born and sung through the film. I'm going to give the song a Brad score. It's a great way to kick off side 2. It's 100 out of 10, and it's never a skip.
Oh God, I've got a feeling that Mike's score is going to be close to yours, Andrew.
Oh,
I've got a feeling. I love this song. Every time they started this song, I'd get goosebumps. I love Paul singing in this. Absolutely sensational. You know, Paul's voice, it's remarkable that throughout the session, he could do those really big things and the power and go really high and not wear his voice out. I mean, and there was times when he'd say, my voice is tired and all this, and I'd be like, man, it sounds great to me. You know, it's sensational. The way he sings on this song is, you know, quite remarkable considering it was all done live and there was no real overdubbing or anything like that. So this is a perfect example of chemistry between John, Paul, George, and Ringo and Billy. You know, the 5 of them. I love the guitar playing on this. John's like holding it down. George is like adding the color. Ringo's drumming on this song is sensational. I could listen to isolated tracks of this of just Ringo playing. I love it. You know, the middle section, you know, where Lennon comes in singing Everybody Had a Hard Year, that part, that's Lennon's voice is eerie. It's like he just had this spookiness to his voice at times, and the way he did it was executed beautifully on this version. The rich sound that Baron provides and gives us on this, it's 100 out of 10 for me. I will say this, watching it sort of grow, this song come together more so in the Get Back thing, and it's even escalated the score for me of this song, but it's definitely always been one of my favorite Beatles songs.
Yeah, you clearly, and you could see that they bolted 2 songs together. McCartney the first half and then Lennon the second half. Apparently, the original Lennon song was "Everybody's Had a Hard Year." They said everyone's had a hard year before they changed it to, but because whilst Lennon's song was very optimistic, clearly that's McCartney rather is very optimistic. Lennon had actually endured quite a hard year. He divorced his first wife, Cynthia. His new partner, Yoko, had a miscarriage. He was battling heroin addiction. He was arrested for drug possession. He was estranged from his son, Julian, and he'd grown unhappy in the Beatles. So it was a kind of, you know, it's a sort of yin and yang song, really, in many ways. You know, the McCartney upbeat stuff at the beginning. And then, you know, the sort of less so but again, I love the Lennon lyrics, you know, up and down kind of thing is cool. And but the funny thing that struck me first of all was how much like the Mighty Quinn it was. You know, the Bob Dylan song, "Everybody's building big ships and boats." I'm sorry, you know, everybody's going. I kept singing that when they were playing it, which is I don't know. I'm sure that was probably a subconscious thing and not a conscious Dylan thing, but that's what it sounds like to me. It's great. 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Really good way to start side 2. Absolutely strong. You know, fantastic. Again, fantastic lyrics. Check them out, guys. Check out the lyrics.
Yeah. Andrew.
Outstanding. I'm glad that we're within some ballpark scores there, guys. 1 after 9:09. Depending on where you go for your research, some established reputable authors are saying they wrote this in 58 or 57, not long after they formed, John and Paul got together. So, you know, I always knew that, and that always had something of a spell, a grip over me, Brad and Simon. It was, I love that. I love the fact that you know, later on they were including the song that they wrote as teenagers, still do. But I'm mixed about the quality of the song, you know. So the history of the song, where the song comes from, is one part of it, isn't it? But then when you hear the song, it's like, okay, you know. So, you know, it's a rough and ready song, isn't it? About trains, and, you know, blues songs always talk about trains, you know. Robert Johnson, the Rolling Stones did a version of his song on Let It Bleed, or was it Biggest Banquet? I can't remember. And, you know, the Beatles were doing one back in 57, 58 before it became, you know, fashionable in British pop music, which in itself I think is revealing about these guys, because clearly they were being influenced by the music that they were hearing from America. Classic skittle, apparently, you know, from all accounts, and I've listened to a bit of skittle over the last few years.
Skiffle.
Yeah.
Skittles are something different.
Skittles are chocolates that I eat. Yeah, classic skiffle. And again, that in itself is revealing as a documentary, as a document, as something for us to listen to. One of the great things that the Beatles have done. Brad, I can hear Perkins and Clapton in that guitaring. I can hear George being influenced by Carl Perkins and a bit of Clapton going on there. I'm going to give this song, I mulled over the song. I wanted to give it a 5. I wanted to give it a 6, a 7, or 8. I'm going to give it an 8. Never a skip. Brad.
One After 909. It's I mean, we heard this a lot throughout the documentary as well. They played this maybe 100 times as well. I love the song. The vibe of this recording is very alive to me. It's an older song. Obviously, they brought it back. The dual vocals, I love that part about it, that they're remarkable how they sing the dual vocals together. They watch each other if you pay close attention. They're intently watching each other while they're singing, because they don't want to sing over each other. They want to get it right, which is an important part and something to highlight. Again, I love the song even more because of the documentary. George is playing fantastic on it, like you alluded to, Andrew. His lead guitar playing is fantastic. Ringo's drumming is just, you know, it's perfect. Paul's bass playing in this there's a lot of movement, and it's remarkable that he can play that bass line and sing along so well. I've always said that was something that Paul did so well, would be play those bass lines and sing at the same time. Just quite remarkable, because that's like separating two parts of your brain, in my opinion. That's quite a yes, Simon. That you know, John's laying down that rhythm guitar is really tight, and Billy's kind of floating across the top beautifully, and I think Billy closed this song off when he came into the fold. It made the song complete, in my opinion. So I have to give this song a 10 out of 10, because I find it really exciting, and it's like touching the past and giving it a new birth. So I love it. So 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip, guys.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think for me, the first thing that struck me is that it's kind of rock and roll song, back to their roots, back to their rock and roll roots. Pretty straightforward rock and roll song. I agree with you, Andrew, that it has very much that roots in skiffle, doesn't it? You know, writing songs like, you know, about trains, Midnight Special, Freight Train, Rock Island Line kind of thing. One After 909 is just another train song. But it's got everything a rock and roll song should have, isn't it? It's got verve, and it's got life, and it's got zip, and, you know, bowls along, and it's got a great solo. You know, it's got nice honky tonk piano in the background and things. And I gave this an 8.5 out of 10, and never a skip. Well, I think it's really good fun, you know. And you've got to have contrasts, haven't you? You know, if you're going to have for every "I've Got a Feeling" kind of song, you've got to have a one after 909 for that kind of that light and shade in any album. You know, all the best albums have light and shade, don't they? It's not all heavy. It's got to have some, considering what comes next and what came before. I think I think it's like I say a lot on these things. Some of it does a really good job on the album of setting a tone and doing a particular thing. So 8.5 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. Really
awesome,
cool.
Awesome. Appreciate that. I just want to take a bit of an opportunity before Brad gets back to thank you all for joining us. Mark Tanner, we've put you and Great Van Zini on our community page. Anybody else that's here on our chat that wants us to do that, please let us know and we'll get that done. It's the least we can do. Thank you very much, guys, for hanging out with us. The long and winding road. Okay, guys. Be kind to me. Be kind to me, please. Be kind to me. Treat me delicately, please. It's really important that you understand that I can be, fragile when I'm giving some opinions too.
Here we go.
We're always gentle with you. Everyone gets castigated on this show. Go on.
This song never, ever sounded like a Beatles song to me. It always sounded like a Paul McCartney song. And I know that we've had songs on the White Album where there were hardly no other Beatles. There was only one Beatle or two Beatle on a lot of the tracks and all that. But this is a song for me that just oozes Paul McCartney, not in a bad way. But I suppose for us as Beatle fans, when we dig a little bit deeper behind the song, the song probably has a lot more effect for us emotionally because it's the song that helped create the separation, the breakup of the band, wasn't it? It was Paul McCartney not being happy that John had given, the tapes to Spector. And I'm not going to read out, but if you guys go and Google and you can get the 4 or 5 point letter that Paul McCartney wrote to Spector, it's pretty clear, and, the egos involved behind it. John Lennon, made a bad move, in my opinion, by doing that. And it just, created a problem with the band. McCartney had to come out and publicly split from the band because he was doing his first album and all this other stuff. So having that at an early age when you're a Beatles fan, knowing this, always added a bit of, what's the word, Simon? Melancholy behind the song for me.
Yeah.
Because it's, got that connection to the band. But I'm going to say that this is one of the most beautifulest, if that's such a word, song that Paul McCartney has ever written. The words, and I know that the Rock Professor has mentioned about listening to some of the words on some of the other songs that we've just discussed. But I just think the words on this song are just brilliant. Some people have called it mushy. Again, if anybody says that this song is mushy, they don't know anything about music. I just love the song, guys. I just think it's remarkable. Paul didn't want to sing this song. Again, it's one of the revealing things about Paul McCartney. He wanted Cilla Black or Tom Jones or someone else to sing this song. Yeah. So he was shopping his songs out, So when I heard that, that kind of blew me away too. I love the song. I think automatically of Paul McCartney. I always have, guys. I don't see this as a Beatles song, if you can understand what I mean. I'm going to Brad score this. I love as much as Spector version from Beatles fans gets a hard time, I don't mind it. I love all the versions to this song. I love it. It's 100 out of 10. I can't count. Brad.
Wow.
Hey.
I was all for you going first, Andrew, when you asked who wanted to do the rankings and stuff like that. But now I don't think I made the right decision. I think you should have gone last because it's hard to follow you up or something like that, mate. But look, I'm going to agree with you, Andrew, and I've got a lot of things that I wanted to bring up, but I think you've covered most of it. I mean, for me, watching this again during the Get Back sessions of the documentary, the band seemed to struggle with this song initially. I think there was something that wasn't. I don't know if you guys picked that up when they were going through this song. It was frustrating to watch. Like there was a lot of potentially disinterest at times from certain members. And I'm going to say this respectfully. As much as I say George is my favorite or Lennon or whatever, but I don't really have a favorite Beatle. I think they're all remarkable, and I think they were all outstanding at what they did. And I think it's a beautiful song. Paul's singing is just wonderful on this. The melody is wonderful. The vibe of the song is, it captivates you if you're really in a somber or sort of, let's just say, a very mellow mood. You get lost in this song. There's some wonderful piano playing, and I love how this documentary especially highlights how well Paul McCartney can play piano. And the band is performing the song respectfully, which I mentioned before in Let It Be. The band actually perform just what's needed for the song. There's some lovely orchestration in this. I love the song even more now because of the documentary, and it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. It never was a skip anyway, but I love the song even more now. It's a 10 out of 10. Never a skip. Simon.
Yeah, this is really interesting. This for me. A bit of history. McCartney said he came up with the Long Winding Road during one of his first visits to his Scotland property, to his Scotland farm that he purchased in '66, and apparently just sat down at the piano and started playing, and out came the song. Right. And but imagining it was going to be done by someone like Ray Charles and stuff, so yeah. Kind of he had that kind of vision of it. And as you say, Andrew, later offered it to Tom Jones, but Tom Jones hadn't. But on the condition it had to be Tom Jones's next single, and Tom Jones already had a single. Imagine turning down a Beatles song like that. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. But just picking up on the point you made, in an interview in '94, he said of the Long Winding Road, it's rather a sad song. I like writing sad songs. It's a good bag to get into because you can actually acknowledge some deeper feelings of your own and put them in it. It's a good vehicle. It saves having to go to a psychiatrist. He also told his biographer Barry Miles that the song was all about the unobtainable, the door you never quite reach, the road you never get to the end of, which I think is, absolutely true. It's exactly what I take from it. It's a fantastic song. I mean, two things about this. I much prefer the version on the Glyn Johns version. The stuff I think the strings. Me too. I have a sort of I have a thing. I think that I was talking earlier about McCartney can stray into a bit sort of sentimental kind of. I think this doesn't have enough grit in it somewhere to make it. To make it in a way that the Glyn Johns version, it takes away the kind of the strings. I think for me they make it a bit too sweet. It's a fantastic version. I'm not saying it's, and I think it's a fantastic song. Absolutely. For me, I love the brass counterpoint more than I've always had it's kind of equivocal relationship with strings on records, even when I was much younger. Strings and records, strings and rock and roll were always a bit without me. So I think I carry a bit of personal history here. But I think the piano is fantastic. As I said, I like the brass. I like brass. I think brass is a fantastic instrument and has that kind of melancholic view of things. But so as a song, and the other thing I say about it, on here with this version, it sounds like a show tune. Could almost be in a Disney film. Those huge swelling strings and stuff like that. I can always hear it in a kind of some Disney cartoon that, Beauty and the Beast type thing or something, not lyrically, but musically. So I have two scores for this. I mean, one is a Brad score because it's a fantastic song. It's 100 out of 10, It's one of McCartney's best. It's a classic. In the context of this album, where a lot of it is a lot rawer and getting back to their roots a bit more and stuff like that, I've given it a 9 out of 10. But I'd never skip it. And it is, it is a Beatles classic. And I'm trying to talk about it. To me, it sticks out on this record a bit like a sore thumb in its arrangement. And it's very, very kind of professionally produced and organized, and with all that extra stuff on it. I think in a way that.
Because it's Paul McCartney.
Because it's Paul McCartney.
Yeah. It's a Paul McCartney song.
It needs a bit more Lennon grit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we've come around and we've meted.
Oh yeah.
We've arrived.
I'm not saying it's not a brilliant song. I'm not saying it's it is not. It is a fantastic song. I prefer the naked version with much less on it. I think it showcases it much better. It's a kind of piano ballad. I'll go for that. It's fine. It's a as I say, for me, a bit. This is the one song where I think the Spectre bit is a bit too much for me.
Yeah,
for me.
You're right, Christine. Brass is awesome. Look at the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Exile mainstream.
Mainstream. But the thing about when they use this kind of that brass, that kind of horns and stuff, they have that melancholy feel that fits in so well with the feel of the song. Beautiful.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry, that was my long and rambling exposition on the winding road. Yes, long and winding Simon. Yes.
All right, guys. My introduction to the last song carries through to this song, please. For You Blue, another song by George to Patty. How many songs has this woman had written for her?
Too many. No, actually, they're all great songs, though.
Yeah. Look, guys, I'm going to say this quickly. It's a forgettable song. Lennon's slide is horrible. It ain't no Parachute Woman that the Rolling Stones have done or did. It's a forgettable song, guys. It's not an adequate reflection, I think, of what the Beatles were doing during this time. And I don't know why it's there. And it's often a skip, and I'll probably often still skip it. Brad.
Okay. It's a fun song. It's in the vein of them mucking around in the studio. I think when you watch in the Get Back documentary, they put newspaper in the piano because George wanted more of that sort of Western sort of film piano sound. It's obviously a love song to Patty. It's got that bluesy vibe. I think Harrison had better songs for this record than this. I still don't understand why the Beatles didn't, hang on to All Things Must Pass. I have no understanding of that. Now, I imagine All Things Must Pass on this record, for example, would have lifted the whole dynamic of the record, in my opinion. But I'm glad we got it later anyway. But not deviating, I'll go back to this song. There's some cool things about the song. It's always been hit or miss for me, this song. Sometimes a skip, sometimes a play. Not one of Harrison's better songs. I I truly believe that they could have picked one of his better songs for this because he was a remarkable songwriter. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. Sometimes a skip. Sorry, George. I know. Second last song on the record as well. So it could be that they just wanted to put a little bit of a fun ditty there maybe, and they thought, we'll just give it to George. I don't know how they sort of looked at it. But anyway, 6.5 out of 10.
Certainly a counterpoint to the long and winding road in that sense. To pick up on your point, Andrew, about why they put it on. I mean, I think that they put on seemingly this side and clearly, the next song as well, that is quite a rock and roll thing. It has quite a rock and roll vibe to it, except for the long and winding road, which I think is, so for me, I can understand them putting this on because it has that kind of rock and roll thing about it. Yeah, bit of Elmore James slide on it, and I don't know if you listened, and clearly it's based on Madison Blues by Elmore James, which has they're very similar. And I went and listened to it, and but it's got that sort of lap steel thing. So I understand why they put it on. I think like that, I can see why a producer would go, we need something to lighten up after the long winding road. It's very much the theme of this side is kind of quite sort of straight ahead rock and roll stuff, 12-bar rock and roll stuff. Therefore, and we've got to lead it, remember, into the next track as well. Therefore, you've got to have a kind of, you've got to find a way. When we play, you'll understand this, Brad. When you play in a covers band, and you want to do a new cover, you've got to say, how do I get to that song, and then how do I get back? Because if it's too much outside sort of what you do, it sticks out like a sore thumb. You think, why? God, we've suddenly done something crazy in the middle of some other set of songs that have a flow and an organization to them. So I do understand why they put it in here. I agree with you. It's a kind of light song. I gave it 7.5 out of 10. I wouldn't skip it. It's fun to me. It's a fun little thing. It's 2.5 minutes. It's fine, but it's quite light. But I think it does a job. And remember what I said last week about albums, or a couple of weeks ago about albums? The second last track on the album is always the weakest.
You did say that.
I'll just put that on the table.
You did say that. Yeah,
I did.
Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't call him the rock professor because of his glasses. It's what's behind the glasses that counts.
Well, I say to my children, I have an enormous planet-sized head to house an enormous planet-sized brain.
I'm glad we're on par there, because I really kind of thought that you guys may have given me grief for that. But I'm glad that we're on par. We're on to the song that's about JoJo and Loretta Martin.
Hooray!
A funny song about JoJo and Loretta Martin. Get back. Look, seeing this song flower in the studio is remarkable. It's remarkable. We see McCartney sitting there with us off the bass, and he's playing chords and he's strumming, and the music is there, guys. We spoke about this last week, didn't we? And he doesn't even have the words yet. And then we see, obviously, the contrast of the words as it's reflected with Enoch Powell's famous speech about immigration into the UK. We won't talk a lot about that. Everybody is a little bit aware of, I'm sure, about, Get Back was, Get Back to the Pakistanis and, to everybody that was coming into the UK. It was called the Commonwealth Song too, I think, Simon, at one stage.
That's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But to see that flower and go through the evolution on the film, and then to get the rooftop concert with this song is just remarkable. Super groove. It's got a super groove. It's a super groove rocker. We've got Lennon playing lead guitar. That rockabilly vibe going on there. Super slick. It's just super slick. He doesn't miss a beat. It's just fantastic. I love it. You know, that build up of the rhythm and the drums, and the A chord, and then to the G and then to the D. It's just fantastic. It's one of those identifiable songs, and it's not a guitar lick. It's like back in the USSR. You know, you know what the song is as soon as you hear it. It's just one of the great things. Paul, again, his vocals on the song, it's different. You know, he's singing in the back of his throat, so he's got this tight sound going on. You know, he hasn't got that front of voice song. He's got this back. I love it. At the 53-second mark, you got that nice little lick by Lennon. It's just lovely. I just think it's fantastic. John Lennon playing lead on this is just remarkable. Billy. We've spoken about Billy. We've spoken about Billy, haven't we, guys? But just the way that Billy, 22 years old, sitting in there in these sessions, just sitting back in the corner, guys, grooving, playing this bouncy little thing. It's just remarkable. I love it. And then you've got that great pickup from Ringo before the outro. That great pickup, Phil. It's remarkable. Ringo to the max. And you've got this guy in green pants. This guy playing this Telecaster. And he's just playing the chords and he's happy. Look, I've always loved this song, Simon and Brad. I've always loved this song. It's you know, I talk about this often. You know, when you grow up and you hear classic radio. Well, back then it wasn't classic radio. It was, you know, the radio station. It was just the song that I always heard. Loved it. One of the first songs I learnt to play on a guitar. Simon did it a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. I love the song. It's I have to Brad score it in all versions. I love it. Love the fact too, you know, you got yay from Mo. Thanks, Mo. You know, got that little bit there from Lennon on behalf of the band. You know, so you know, you guys I hope you guys will pass the audition on this show, because you might get invited to other shows too. So you guys might pass the audition.
Might.
you know, because you know, we do well there. You know, people graduate to other shows, so you guys might have a future.
I just got
Thanks
you.
so much. Thanks so much.
Just got you. I just understood where you were getting at. I know what you're getting at.
I'm a bit cheeky, aren't I? Look,
misbehaving.
We should end it now. That's just the best comment you've ever said.
We're off.
Thank you, brother.
See you guys.
Okay, bye. I hope I've left something for you guys to talk about. I just think they've left. There's been two other highlights on this album for me, and this is the third highlight. I just love it. I again, you know, when Martians come to invade us, and they want to hear something by the Beatles, this will be one of half a dozen songs that hopefully they might say, "You guys like good music, we will leave you alone." Brad.
Wow. Well, on behalf of the group and ourselves, I hope we pass the audition. We might get on other shows, Andrew, you know, if we pass the audition. So I've got you. All right. So back to stop goofing around and back to on track. All right.
Stop goofing around.
You threw me there, Andrew. So my train of thought, I have to look at my notes again. All right. So we saw this song go through many stages in the Get Back documentary.
More than any other.
Exactly. And this is by far the best version. I love all of them anyway, but I love the way the song starts, that build up, as you alluded to, Andrew, there.
Yep.
And great vocals from Paul. I thought it was a real treat to hear Lennon playing lead on this one. He's stretching himself, as we see in the documentary. He's like, he's playing within his means, but that's all he's got to give. But it's beautiful what he's doing. It's outstanding, and it's heartwarming to see the song evolve, and just looking at, say, George, and he's just playing exactly what's needed. He's not trying to outdo anyone else. They're not trying to outdo each other. They're just trying to make the song good, that's remarkable. Billy Preston's contribution is outstanding and probably one of the most important parts of the song for me. His solo is wonderful. It's a great song. Again, I love the song even more since the Get Back documentary. Lennon's second solo is another magic moment for me. There's so much chemistry in this song. There's goosebumps. I got emotional watching the rooftop gig, I'll be honest with you, because it was one of those moments. It was just like, wow, this is, and when they were playing this song, I got the goosebumps, and then hearing John do the little spiel at the end of the song. I'll be honest with you, I used to love the song so much. It's all I listened to. When you first get into the Beatles, it was like listen to the classic Beatles songs. And I actually started to step away from them because it was like I was tired of hearing the songs over and over and over again. And I had to listen to the deeper cuts to still appreciate these songs. But now I'm back to falling in love with this song. And, it's all due to the documentary Get Back. Again, I hope we've passed the audition, 100 out of 10, and it's never a skip on my part. So, Simon.
Yeah, it's an absolute classic, and yet another classic from the Beatles, isn't it? A classic kind of, their own stamp on the rock and roll thing. I don't have much to add. As you say, Lennon's great guitar. Love those guitar breaks. Fit in really well with it. They kind of go back to their rock and roll roots. The one thing I did discover was that that Billy Preston's solo was just improvised. They just said to him in the middle, "Take a solo." Oh, okay. Just had to do a solo because he wasn't expecting to do one. And in rehearsing, he hadn't done a solo. And when they came to play it in live, get on with it, take a solo. But, we're learning it for our bands now. So it's a 10 out of 10 and never a skip on that basis alone. But yeah, it's got such verve and such bounce and slightly wacky lyrics that are good for me. But it's that kind of bouncing along kind of rock and roll good vibes thing with interesting quirky lyrics. It's great, yeah, fantastic. 10 out of 10, never a skip, classic.
I've enjoyed ranking this album with you guys, and I'll share with all the people in the chat who watch us. We've made a commitment, guys, next year that we're going to go through the three of us, and we're going to do all the Beatles albums. We've done a few. There's not too many left, but we owe it to this band because of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, how it's inspired us, how we've fallen in love with the band again. I'm looking forward to having the Christmas break where I can just go back and listen to all these albums again, and knowing that I can spend a couple of hours with Brad and Simon and everyone else in the chat next year going through doing Meet the Beat with the Beatles, Please Please Me, Force, I'm just I'm just looking forward to doing that, including the Magical Mystery Tour. So we're going to do the whole lot. And one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to it, Brad and Simon, is because you guys love this band so much, and I think that's what gives it even more. For me personally, because you guys are digging it as well, and I pick up on that.
Yeah, well, you've definitely hit the nail on the head that we love this band, and we're going to rebrand the show the Beatles Electric Blues Show.
Well, seriously, we need to talk about rebranding the show too. As far BEBS TV is short for we've had a couple of people ask about whether or not, what does BEBS TV, British Electric Blues Show, we're going to have to rebrand the show. So hopefully we come back next year while we're going to be doing the Beatles with a new or shortened name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's been awesome to touch on this landmark record with you guys. I've really enjoyed it, and I can't thank everyone else in the chat more so for joining us when we do this, because we're just three fans just having a bit of fun talking about the music we love, and you guys joining in is amazing. So thank you guys for joining us, and anyone who's watching this later, please hit that subscribe button. We've got we want the channel to grow. We're a little humble channel. We definitely want to grow. I think we've got a lot to offer to everyone that's subscribed and not subscribed. So please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the thumbs up button, and comment in the I know you guys are in the chat, but later when the show's posted on YouTube, get in there and put some comments in there, because it all helps us with the algorithms and stuff like that as well, which we try not to get involved in that part of it, pushing you guys to do that, but share our channel if you feel so, or feel the need to, and please comment and give us some feedback. And
that's a good point.
Shows moving forward, guys, we definitely want you guys to give your rankings as well. We love it when you guys are chatting about other things, but we love it even more when you're actually sort of contributing with your rankings and that, because it gives us a little bit more thing. We want to go back and listen to the song and readdress it. If, say, I give it a 5 out of 10 and you give it a 10 out of 10, it gives me a reason to go back and revisit it.
Yeah. That's a good point about making comments, guys. Yeah, thank you, Brad, for mentioning that, because YouTube have changed a couple of things. You guys may have noticed that YouTube now no longer collects or counts the thumbs down. So you can dislike a video, but they don't count it anymore, which is really, really good. So they count the thumbs up. But yeah, Brad, you've hit the nail on the head. If you guys can just make a comment after the show on any of the videos we've done, because that helps the channels with the algorithms too. So that just puts us on other people's feeds. So yeah, good point, bro. Thank you for that. Rock Professor.
Yeah, I think that every time we do one of these, rank the Beatles tracks, I go back to my original boring point, which is the Beatles are underrated. And when you dig into these albums and you listen to them, you realize that's true. That is so true. They are underrated. What they did, all those albums in such a short period of time, that artistic growth, where they went, came from, where they went to, is more than astonishing, really, in my books. And it is a deep and abiding thrill for me to go back and listen to these records in depth, and really kind of analyze them a bit and get into the stories of them, because it only enhances what they do. It only deepens what these records are and what they mean. So I'm so thankful that we lived in a time when these things were popular and around and things, and people talked about them. And I think that the Let It Be film has only enhanced that as well. And that is, Johnny Heartbreaker put in something. I wish there was something about Led Zeppelin in the same vein. The trouble is, they never filmed stuff in the 60s. Really, there was never really any film. People, this is an astonishingly rare event where a film camera crew sat up and filmed a group over a month or whatever it's, a month of doing something, at the group's behest. But nobody else did that, at all, and nobody really thought of it. And I think we should be thankful that it was done with the greatest group ever. Awesome. Awesome. I throw that in, and aren't we lucky to that they didn't do it for the. Let's be rude about them. They didn't do it for the Hollies. They did it for the Beatles. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, well, I'm even more thankful that they've gone through and all this. You know, I'm praying. I'm deep down inside. I'm praying we see more stuff from this, because I'm sure that from my understanding, on the cutting room floor, they had to cut it down to the 3 episodes for Disney Plus. It was probably double or triple the length initially, so I'm sure there's way more stuff there. That
another 42 hours worth or something?
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of magic there, and I would love to see, when they're doing the final cut of a song, sometimes they cut it to go to them in the listening room. I'd love to see the whole footage of the whole song complete, and things like that. I'm sure that's available, is what I'm saying. So
it'll come out, mate. And there's nothing wrong with Apple Corp wanting to make money out of anything, extra marketing, extra, DVDs or downloading or streams or anything like that. I'm sure they're going to do it, and why not? Because there's going to be people like us that's going to take advantage of it and sit here for another 3 or 4 hours and do 4 or 5 more shows, bump some shows, because we're going to talk about the Beatles. I can't wait, Rock Professor. Gosh, it's been a privilege hanging out with you guys, talking about the Beatles. We have to have a management meeting and talk about what we're going to do next week, because the week after that, we've got the Christmas show, which is going to be the 5150 and the British Electric Blues Christmas show on Sunday, the 19th, New Zealand, Australia, UK time. So we'll be streaming for 10 hours, guys. If you guys weren't aware, if you want to be on the 10-hour show with us for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, hang out with us, hit us up so that we can send you the link. We want to be here for you guys. You can join us, get together. We can talk about some great music, things that have happened over the year. Keep it positive, guys. We don't want to be having a Christmas show that's going to be talking about all the crap that's gone down, but all the good things. And obviously, any hopes and aspirations we have as far as music is concerned for next year. Going to be great. Can't wait for it.
On that note,
Oh, yeah. I'm going to pass it over to my co-hosts, and we're going to split.
I don't think we should say much more. I think we've all had a say, Andrew, and I think you closed it off really well then, brother. So
thank you.
Yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat for being really entertaining and dropping by to see us. And guys, and Sonia's just been involved in a high-speed chase, but she's managed to escape.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful of those high-speed chases in America, because it's America.
A lot of roads, lot of straight roads in Texas.
One last thing: sign up to the Instagram accounts, because that's the only way that you're going to find out about what we're going to do next week.
Yep.
But I might do one on the community page too. So we have to decide that. Is that correct, guys? That's how we do it. We're going to talk about what we're going to do?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
So, thanks all. Take care in the chat, everyone.
Make sure I push the right button. Yesterday when I went into the show, I pushed something else. Hold on. So keep waving while I find what. Keep waving.
Find the red telephone button. Yes.
Don't you stop waving. Hold on.
I'm waving.
Okay, keep waving. All right.